The very forces that wear things down are the same ones that leave behind what lasts and really matters. Let's talk about it. Well, as you know, I just returned recently from a trip out west. We went to Colorado. The last couple of videos that I published were in Colorado, and I recorded in Utah, but it didn't go so well. So I thought after I got back, I'd have a couple episodes here reflecting on what we experienced in Colorado and what that trip was like, starting with this one. So we went from Colorado over into eastern Utah to Arches National Park and Canyonlands. And of course at Arches, we saw the beautiful arches that are there, thus the namesake. And there's delicate arch, there's double arch, which is really cool. And there's the one that we're all familiar with that you see on stamps or postcards or online, delicate arch. For me, I was surprised at delicate arch. I'll share this image with you of me standing under it for some scale. The thing is huge. And I guess maybe the name delicate arch has me thinking it's something small, but it's large. The thing is massive, and the scale of those arches, the size, is amazing. And then we ventured over into Canyonlands, and there we found crazy looking landscapes. It almost looked like the moon or something, bizarre shapes and colors. And then there's a place in Canyonlands called the Joint. It kind of reminds me of like just a hallway. It's a real narrow passage, straight up cliffs on either side of you, right in the middle of this desert. And it's pretty long. We're not talking about 15, 20 yards. It's a long passageway that you hike through there called the Joint, that you can look up and see the sky above you. It's just amazing. And all of those things, those shapes, those arches, the joint, all of it's formed by erosion. Those forces that wear things down, and wind blowing around sand, and it grades off and sands off, so to speak, the rock, and removes soil. Not only that, you have rainfall that washes things away over time. Snow falls and it melts, and that runs off and creates some erosion. And then you've got the water seeping into the rocks, and it freezes, and as it expands, when it freezes, it breaks pieces off. And so over time, those forces wear away and chip away at the landscape, but what they leave behind is beautiful. It's amazing, like those arches. The Joint is pretty crazy. You're in the middle of a hot desert hiking around. You go into this cool place, kind of underground. That's truly a hallway. And you see these round shapes, these spires that extend up into the air, just so many different shapes. It's all formed by erosion. And so it makes me think about the parallel with life. That process of eroding, of taking away and tearing down, that happens in our landscapes with the rocks, is a lot like what happens to us in life. I shared with you about my back surgery. It was hard, it was difficult to recover from and painful, but I'd have never been able to complete that 12.5-mile hike that we did in Canyonlands without a successful surgery that I experienced and the recovery that went with it. So it could be a health thing like that in life that chips away at us, or it's a hard thing that takes something away, but it leaves something better behind. Maybe it's a financial challenge you've been through. Perhaps you filed bankruptcy, or you had a large pile of credit card debt that you had to battle through and pay off. But through that experience, as hard as it was, it left behind a better steward of your finances, and maybe you're better with money now than you were before. So it could be that. And maybe it's a relationship. We're about to have been married for 32 years this summer. That's a pretty big accomplishment, but it didn't come free. There's been hard times and difficult things like anybody experiences in a long relationship. But what it's left behind is a stronger us. And so whatever it is that you're facing, more than likely, it's creating a better version of you. It's taking away the things that are unnecessary, that you don't need, or it's creating a different perspective for you than you had before. And as a result, it's making you better. It's leaving behind something beautiful, something that lasts and that really matters, just like that erosion out in the desert. So I think back over my life about things that have happened to me like that. I'm reminded of early on when I was a young man, and you think you're kind of unbreakable. And I was working a chainsaw, and I allowed it to kick back, got into my leg right above my knee. And very close to severing a tendon, which would have been really bad, probably changed the trajectory of my life, truly. Had that happen, but it didn't. It was a near miss, so to speak. But it taught me something. It left behind a scar. So just like that erosion, just like that wind and freezing and thawing and rain, leaves behind arches and the joint, that passageway, or those beautiful landscapes that we saw in Canyonlands. That saw left behind a scar for me, a reminder. And I learned a lesson there. I learned something about the strength and power of equipment. I learned that I can be injured, I can be broken, and it's made me a little more cautious, a little bit smarter, and it left behind a better version of me. But that scar's still there. I remember the eroding process of creating a smarter Brad in that experience. So I suspect everybody watching this is going through something different or has been through things different. And maybe some of the hard things you've been through, you even resent. Somebody's hurt you somehow. It's easy to have resentment for things. Maybe try to turn that around a little bit. Instead of being so upset and angry, think about how much better it's made you, how much stronger it's made you, how you've come through that, and what's left behind is different than it was before. Try to not blame things outside of yourself for the things that have happened. Certainly, often things outside of us are responsible for what happens to us, but it's our response to those things. It's what gets left behind that's really going to matter. What gets left behind are this delicate arch and the joint and a better us through the things that we go through. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you are able to see back as you look over your life, things that have happened that have taken away stuff you didn't need, might have thought you needed, or seemed like they had no purpose or meaning, and now you see that they really did. And through that, there's a better you. Until next time, let's see where Double Nickel takes us.